Yesterday, what you have seen is how to create a function, right? Generally, right? Normally, when we are creating any functions, we will write our logic. But the problem is when sometimes that function will work, sometimes it will not work. For example, if I'm asking it to write a function, addition of two numbers, okay? And I'm telling, okay, if you're adding two variables, what will be the answer? If I'm adding, if I'm having 10 plus 20, what is expected? If I'm adding 10 plus 20, what is expected?
30.
So that is a good test. Like that, we keep on changing the numbers and seeing, right? Like whether our functions behaving correctly. But when it comes to building a large scale systems, every time we cannot go and do the thing basically. I mean, like every time whenever we implement a new feature, we cannot go and retest the same function again and again. So there is something called unit test. You people are called SDET engineers because you people write code, I mean software development engineering and test. So this is very powerful. I mean, like the kind of role which you are doing is very powerful because you are not only writing your code, you're also writing the test functions also, which will be run automatically. Okay, so let's see some example here. For example, can you see my screen? Yesterday's code.
Yes, sir.
Right now, I'm going to create one function. For example, let's create a function inside the user module itself. Let the function call addition. Okay. So for addition, we need two numbers, correct? So let it be A can be an integer and B can be an integer. Great. And I want to return the sum of it. So answer can also be an integer, an error, right? Our standard way of writing code. Now I'm going to return, what is that? A plus B, comma, nil. Till this, everyone understood, right? Now I've written a function which is taking two different parameters and returns the sum of it, also with an error. If there is no error, nil will be written. Now I want to create a test for it. How to create test? In the same directory wherever that file is there, in which I have implemented. For the easy purpose, I'm going to create one more file called users. This is the main module name, right? Underscore test.go. The moment you put underscore test to that file name, it becomes test file. It will not be executed by the main code. That will ignore this code. That means whenever you are building all these things, these files will be not executing. Any code written, this will not be taken into consideration. Underscore test. Okay. Now, what is the package name for this? Zoom. Correct. Now I'm going to write a test function to test whether our sum function, addition function will pass or fail. Okay. So func test, every time put the first letter as test addition. Okay. Now there is a testing library there in this. This function is nothing but inside this function, that addition function will be called. This test function is a parent function. Inside that addition function is there now, what we created, that will be called. So I want to convert this function into a test function. So using the word called t star testing dot t. Now what happens is this function is a test function. That's the reason, can you see automatically there came an option to I can say run test, because it will detect it as, now if I'm saving it, it will import the testing library also. Okay, now I'm getting total. So what is a function we wrote? Addition 10, 20. Okay. And we also get an error also. So let's get the error also. So if there is an error, then t dot error, just print it as error. Okay. T is nothing but testing. This here I'm taking this test framework. Basically, this is a test framework that will do all the printing for us. It will not go and do the log printing and all. That will consider as an error during the testing. T dot error. Okay. Now, if the total, now I want to check whether if I'm adding 10 plus 20, I should never get any nil value. First thing, correct, right? It should not return nil. So assert dot not nil. What not nil? I'm putting the test framework inside this, and I'm telling the total should not be a nil. If it is a nil, I need to print a message, total returned nil. Save it. Now what happened? Every error went, right? Automatically the test framework imported a asserting framework. Now let's run the test and see. If I come and click this test, did our test passed? Can you see this? Okay. Now, if this first test is passing, next assert equal to what? Total should be equal to 30. Correct, right? Else,
Yes.
results are not matching. Okay. Now let me run once again this test. What happened? Again passed, right? Let's, if I'm coming to the terminal, even I can run it using this command called go test-v. What happened here? Passed. Now, what if the answer is 29? Again, let's come and run this code. What happened?
Fail.
Did you understand? We are
Yes.
putting an outcome already, whatever is known, and seeing whether that is matching. These will be automatically run in the server every time whenever you're pushing whenever it is deployed into the production, you cannot go and test it manually, no one function. So every functions, I will write different combinations like this. Okay. Now, next thing is, I can say, okay, this is one test. Addition, it's working. Now I am going to check func test addition without parameter. So again, second test I'm going to write testing.p. Now I'm going to check a different combination. That is
just sorry to interrupt. Again, actually the previous one, we also need to check the number of parameters in that, as if the function was called without enough parameters. Is it
yeah. This is for example, at this moment I'm run every time in one function, only one time we can call this. So same way I can call without parameter another function, because here anyway answers I cannot go and change now because already I have given the parameters.
Yeah, so for the number of parameters, what I was thinking, it means all right, fine. Because the thing is, like when we are having multiple parameters, are we supposed to check it, or for that we have to create another
test? Yes, we need to again check the test. In one test, you can run only one and its comparative results. I'm seeing only here. First thing is, if I give these two things, I need to not get nil. If I give the and second thing is, it should match. Now I'm going to check what if I'm calling, for example, total, comma, error, addition of 10, comma, some float value. Okay. Now that's an interesting question, right? Like now I can again go and check if there is an error, equal to nil t dot error, that error. Now assert, that is not nil. That means t total. First thing I need to check is total returned nil. Next thing is assert dot let's run it and see what answers, what we get. Here 29 I'm putting 30 now. My test should pass. So here I'm coming, writing. Now you can see here what it is telling. Unit test constant 10 pointer truncated to integer. Okay, that means it is looking for a float only, integer
internally
only.
it does this casting, right?
Yeah, it's internally doing the casting, so you can fix the error here itself. So what if I'm putting if I'm calling this function without any parameters? Let me come. You can see not enough parameters in addition, and it wants two integers. You get my point? So for this one, basically we can very clearly see that it always requires integers, as this is a very much
I think
typecasted.
if you can save these values when you are, I'm really not able to understand, because if you want to check the type of those parameters,
We can check the type. Yes, yes. We can get the input. For example, I can put A, rather than directly passing, I can check.
Yes, instead of directly passing the value,
Yeah,
you can
yes, correct.
give the
Absolutely.
variables, it would be
B,
better.
B should be another, if I have 10.1, like this, we are passing it. Now, let's check the first condition. That is assert A, assert it's equal type. Let's say type of is of type. Okay, T A should be of the type int.
Can we have two if means conditions and for
Wait a
when
minute.
text?
Wait a minute. Go assert type of. That's correct. Absolutely correct. That's a good catch. So I'm going for the testing. Assertions I need to check of value int. Okay. Type assertion. Check variable at runtime. Correct.
Anushka, you also can contribute in the discussion. Okay.
Testify assertion. Fine. Okay. No, not this. Did you people understood what madam was telling? You didn't understand. Can you just tell that in meantime?
Sorry?
Can you just tell them what is the query which you had now?
Related to this function.
Yeah.
Actually, the function generally, when we pass the parameters, the first thing is the parameter type should match the one which we are passing and the one which we are receiving. So that is one of the errors generally we may get. Like right now, when we got it, 10.1 was passed as a float value where we were expecting when we have declared the function, it was int. So that's why when we are receiving in this test case, if we check both the parameters are the one which we expect, then we can catch the error in our test case itself, and we can give the proper message.
Correct. So what she's telling is, for example, whenever I'm passing a parameter, before passing itself, I need to test whether they both are of type. Okay, I want to check. So that is what assert is type. So I'm checking before passing, before calling this function addition, I'm checking whether the given A is of type integer. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So wait a minute. Assert is type. Let's see, because this is very important. This is something you need to know. Assert type GoLang. Let me see one example on that. This type example will be there. So it should be like assert is of type. Not this. It's very hot example. That's not the correct one. So yes, here we can assert is of type. Okay. Interesting. Okay, I'm getting the T assertion. Expected type is int 16, and The object what we got is A, errors, type not matching. Let's see. Let's run it and see. It should throw an. It's not an expression. Okay. I need to express this by A and int. It's failing because you have to properly where. Okay, assert is type. I'm just looking for the correct way of this type. Okay, is type T, whatever we got it, that should be of error. Okay, three things we need is thing. What we wanted, A, and that should be of a type in 16. Let's see. Type 16 is not an expression. Okay. Let's do one thing. It should be an expression. It will not work like that way. Not okay. Not and same way I can write for two assertions, checking before that. Now let's come here and go test. Hello, can you see this? So basically, first let's check whether they both are not zero. I will get back to you regarding the type of int. I mean, like type of to check. First thing is you need to check whether A and B should not be empty, not zero also. Then only you can do addition, right? Zero with the other value you cannot do. So you can see two tests we have seen as passed, right? So did you understand what I am doing at this moment?
Yes, sir.
Before running it, I am checking every single condition whether everything is matching. Got it? Now, what we will do is, this is with the parameters like that. Now, I can directly go and see. So basically, like two test cases I have written for one function. Am I right? Two test cases. What are the ways it will fail? Correct, no? Are you understanding it? Any doubts till now? Any doubt? Anushri, any doubts? This will take some time where you just, once you start practicing, it will come. But I'll just clarify you once again very clearly. Now, I just want to know only the comparison of that. That's the thing I'm looking for. Is type T, and that foo. That type. GoLang assert. What is a variable type? Check the type of the value, type assertions. I'm just trying to see. Here it's an interface of the type. Yeah, okay. Right. So let's don't get too much confused inside that. So let's see how, for example, this is how we generally test any functions. Okay. Now let's see how to test our function, that is get user and all these things, because that is more important for us. Addition, subtraction is not important. So I'll delete these things. Okay.
Okay.
Or you want it to be here?
No, sir.
Okay, let it be here. Let it be here. Not a problem. Now I'm going to write a test case for this function. Which one? This get user. That means what this is doing, it is the moment if I'm passing a URL, it is hitting the server and getting the result back. And that result we have to compare both, given result is matching or not. That's it. So I'm going to write a test case here in the test, that is like func test get user t testing.p. Okay. Now to call that function, what we need, we first need to create a Zoom client, right? You have to create a Zoom client. So Zoom, how we create it? We instantiate using like Zoom, correct, right? And I'm going to pass the endpoint. Endpoint is nothing but the base URL. Okay, I have to pass the base URL. This is like http api.zoom.com/v2. This is the base URL. And I need to pass a token also, header also, right? Header I need to pass. Am I right? Now, you need to understand one very important thing here. Actually, if I am directly calling our API, last time you have seen that our APIs every day has a limit, 100, 200 limits, right? So if I'm actually hitting this API, real API for testing also, what will happen is my API will be unnecessarily charged. So I need to introduce something called mock testing. That means I need to create a server which returns the same response what this API returns. Same response. But that should be a duplicate server. You get my point? I don't want to actually go and hit this URL. I want to create a server. In that, I will also put a response. I will create one server simply like this. Whenever someone is hitting users, I want to exactly return this answer. For example, I'll go to our Zoom documentation. This is our response, right? I will write whenever someone is hitting this one, I need to copy this and paste it. This response should be returned. So our function needs to, our point here is to not test the Zoom API server, but whether our functions are doing whatever. For example, we are getting that, we are converting it to struct and we are returning back only things what we needed, right? That should be able to do perfectly. So for that, what we need to do is, first thing is we need to create a temporary server inside that. This is called mocking a server. That means we are not actually calling the Zoom API. We are calling a test API, which also return the same response. So it will start like, okay, test server. And in HTTP itself, there is a framework called HTTP test. Okay. Dot new request, new server. I'm starting a new server here. Let me save it. You can see immediately that server is imported. HTTP test server is imported. Now I want to write inside this. I need to have a HTTP handler. This you can copy paste. You don't need to every time write. You just speak this piece. You can every time copy paste. Not a problem at all. So handle function. What that function does is it will call another HTTP. Two things are needed to run a server. One is response writer. These things you just copy paste every time. Okay. Then we need second thing is HTTP request. and like this. Now in this, I'm going to do w dot write header. That's nothing but HTTP status. Should be okay. Save it. Now write what I want to write. I want to write the byte string, right? BYTE. And inside this, I need to paste this copy code. For example, I'm going to test users only, right? So I will directly go to our code and copy this entire users. Got it? This entire users. This I'll copy it and put it inside this as a. Can you see this now? Now what I did is status. Okay, it's not declared. Okay, status. Okay. Yeah. Now what I have done is I've created a temporary server. The moment when the command, the computer start running this, it will create a server and it will also create a URL. Automatically, it will generate a URL. In that URL, whenever you go and send a guest. So how it will work is the moment this line runs in browser, you can go and start a server will be started like localhost like this. Okay. And like this, a URL will be created. The moment if I hit this URL, it will exactly return the same response like this. Temporary response, right? Our function only need to be tested, not the Zoom APIs, because our function is whether it's capturing the data and doing whatever it needs to be done, doing it. So it will come here. Now what happens is the server is created, this test server is created. Can you see this? In this variable, it will be there like this. Now what I need to do is I can start our Zoom API. Zoom. Only small change. Zoom. The base URL I need to give. Base URL. That is nothing but the test server, whatever we created, right? Inside that, there will be URL automatically generated. Do you understood before starting the session why we created this base URL? Anytime we can change the URL. So whenever I'm creating the Zoom client, I'm changing the URL to this URL, the test server URL. Now everything I can call. Now I'm coming down. Now what I need to do, I want to get all the users. That I can directly do zoom.get users, right? If error is existing, then t.error. Else, I can come and say assert not nil. Assert can be not nil, t comma whatever users, result are empty. Save it. Now what we will do is let's run this code. Let's run this code and see. Go test -v. Can you see? Or our get test user also got succeeded because it is returning the same answer. It is only differences. It's not going and hitting that Zoom actual URL. It is automatically creating a server, and that server also return the same result like Zoom. In this way, this is called mocking the server. So anytime whenever we are testing, we are not hitting the actual server. We are dummy creating a server and we are creating it so that server responds also. Do you get my point? Now this is same. Whenever you're going to test for meeting, copy this code and change this get test to meeting. And only difference what you will be doing is this output you will be changing, copying it from there, pasting it. Do you get the point? Vanda,
Yes,
you are
sir.
able to understand?
Yes, I understand.
So rather than going to the actual server for testing, we are temporarily local server we are creating, which will also return the same result. And this is what is more important. Our server is able to do that answer or not. Now get users, we got it. So now next question will be, I should have a field assert. Next thing I want to check not equal, not nil is, I want not nil is t comma users dot, I should have something called total records. right? And no records present. If there is no record, there is no field, the field is empty, then it is going to throw me an error that there is no records. Now I can go and run this once again. Can you see one more? The test is increasing.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
likewise, for every function, we should create one test case like this. Do you get my point? And that test case should be, next I want to check, okay, I want to check whether the PMI value is available or not. Or the total count of this user should be 2, right? 2 users are there. No? This is one user. This is one user. This is one user. Okay, totally only one user should be there, totally. Count of users. I can say assert dot count equal, that is t comma. Next thing is users dot users length. I need to put a length function. That should be 1. Yes, total number of users not matching. Okay, there is only one user out there, no? In that. Let's run the code and see if it is happening or not. Yes, all tests passing. That means I'm very thoroughly testing. I can go more level of assertion. I can start checking whether this username, whatever, for example, let's see, assert dot equal users dot users first user has the first name. That should be, what is the first name of the username here? First name Taylor. It should match Taylor. So names are not matching. If in case if it is not matching, it will run the condition like names are not matching. Okay, let's come and run this test code. What happens? Yeah, the test is passing. The moment if I'm changing this Taylor to Taylors, save it. What happened? What happened? It's because expected is Taylor and actual is Taylors. Can you see that this really helps us to automate the testing? We will write these test cases and keep it. Whenever server, every time that server while deploying, it will run all test case, and all test case should pass before it is going to deploy. Now, if I go and change it, you can see. That means if your response is not matching, it will automatically throw an error. This is what we need to check with them. Got my point? Every function they write, that should have a very clear test case of like this. Just a sample. Okay, you can go more, you can learn more about GoLang testing and start using this assertion. There are a lot of options are there. You can go and test whether okay, this first name is matching, this PMI should be matching. What is this PMI is matching? So I can again go and write, okay, I'll just copy this and say the PMI should be exactly, what is the value of this PMI? This one. These things will make sure that our what to say, PMI are not matching. PMI are not matching. If it is not matching, so I'm testing. Okay, actual is int 6440 and the actual is int 64. So I can directly convert that into int 64. Let's try it. Got it? You understood? Now I'll push this code.
Robin, I have one.
What?
Hello?
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Is there any standard cases which expect minimum?
I didn't get you.
not number, but minimum, like let's say first thing is you have said that the result is empty is very much general, and it I think this is very important.
Yes.
Next is not found, total number of. So is there any standard case test
Yes,
cases
yes.
which
It's there. I will
minimum?
share that. I will share the document which is having very detailed test case, which you can go through it.
Yeah, means for our kind of study, we can have minimum test cases. These should be matched, and then extra they can have for further.
Yeah, the more and more deeper you can write more deeper test cases. So Anushree and Ritu, the purpose here is even though you write 2 or 3 functions per day, you need to write more than 3 to 4 test cases per day for each function. That only will clarify, which will give you guarantee that your function is very clearly written. You yourself can correct it. What do you say, Vandana? Am I right?
Yes.
So that's what I'm trying to
Yes,
tell.
actually, what my concern was, as you have mentioned here, na last 3 test cases. I'm not sure whether I'm